want to welcome in our online church family. If you're joining us today, I want to know what is your favorite dessert. Put it online in the chat. Sophie, glad you're worshiping with us online today. And my mom is online today joining us. Can we give her just my mom tuning in all the way from Missouri? Love you, Mom. I guess my daddy's probably in the background. That's my guess. So if you're joining, I can see it right here. Just type it in the chat. What's your favorite dessert? Where are you joining us from today? I would love to know. I appreciate our online church family in the house. Hey, we got fans over there. There's still a whole table of fans. I'm going to preach for like 3 hours, so I'm just trying to prep you. All right, get yourself ready. It's Father's Day. I'm going to town. Dads, happy Father's Day to you. I know, like Mother's Day, a lot of times it's kind of like, oh, moms, you're trying so hard. You're doing so good. Keep going. And then it gets to Father's Day, and it's like, guys, you suck. Get better. Like, do better, right? I'm going to try to be encouraging today and give us some hope and cheer. At the same time, do better, guys. Come on, let's do better. We can do this. Next week, we are in the middle of a series where we're just spending the first, in June, we're journeying through the first few chapters of John. Next week we'll be in John chapter 2, and we're going to do Jesus Turns Water into Wine. And it's one of my favorite passages that we're going to be doing in this series. And it's not because of Jesus turning things into alcohol. There's a twist in this sermon that you're not expecting. And for some it's like, oh yeah, I can drink some wine. No, it's not that. There's something bigger and deeper that Jesus is doing here. And it's kind of mind-blowing when we dive into it. I can't wait to share that with you. That's going to be next week. After that, we get one of the most famous conversations in all of history. Jesus sits down with Nicodemus. Nicodemus is a questioner. Nicodemus has questions, he has doubts, and he comes to Jesus, and you get one of the most beautiful conversations in all of history, which is why, after that, we are starting our Q&A series. I love questions. You don't get the beautiful conversations. You don't get the discovery unless, what? You poke around, you're curious, and you ask some questions. You be real, you be honest. And so we'll get a little sneak peek of Nicodemus in that. I just want to invite you to come and join us. Now, if you can't be here, because I realize it's summer, we're going and do stuff, join us online. Join in the live stream, jump in the chat. My mom says she likes chocolate cake and chocolate ice cream. Woohoo. All right, I love that. Or catch us on the replay, on the podcast, or anything like that. Stick with us, journey with us, track with us while you are away. Today is going to be a reminder. I want to ask this question. If you've ever been to any sporting event, all right, I'm a huge sports junkie and I love going to sporting events. Who would you say, you don't even have to be a sports junkie to probably answer this question, who would you say are the loudest fans? Whenever you go to a game, you're at the game, who are the loudest fans? The Denver Bronco fans. Well, so you might say, hey, when I go, where are the Denver Broncos fans here? Anybody? All right. I'll give you. Cowboys fans? Come on, there's your chance. I'm trying to help you out, make friends and make connections. This is the place to create community. Who doesn't care? All right. Go Science. Yes. All right. The loudest fans you would think is the home team. Whoever's the home team has the loudest fans, right? And if you go into any big sporting events, that might usually be the case. But I would say it is not the home team that has the loudest fans. Because as you start watching the game and participate, typically the loudest fans are the fans of the winning team. I realized this several years ago. I'm a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan. And they happen to be playing the Texas Rangers in the World Series. Dallas, not too far from New Mexico, I was able to buy a single ticket that was standing room only. I've never been to a World Series before. I'm like, I'm going to go check off this item on my bucket list. I go to the game. It's Game 5 of the World Series in Texas Ranger Stadium. And I'm decked out in all my Cardinal gear. And it's a tight game. It's a very close game, and what I loved was I was like the only Cardinal fan in my section, and there was about one Cardinal fan per section. I mean, it is obviously Texas Rangers home stadium, so they're going nuts. But anytime the Cardinals made a good play, me and my new friends, I'm there by myself, but we're like, yeah! And the home team is quiet, when everyone strikes out or their team strikes out. And then we're like pointing to the other Cardinal fans who are in the other section, like, yeah, buddy, we got this, all right? Until it was like starting to get later in the game. And I don't know the exact score. I can't remember, but it was really tight. I'm just going to say it was tied. It could go either way. And the tension just grows and grows and mounts and mounts. And I remember one time, their batter was up, and it was I don't know if there was runners on or something, but it was, a key moment, a clutch moment. And 2 outs, and our pitcher throws the pitch and strikes the guy out. Strike 3, batter's out. Their fans who are standing sit in silence, and me and my new friend, yeah! And then I hear this one voice, deep and booming voice, and I have a loud voice as it goes, but this boom voice said, "Shut up!" And I realized I'm 5'7", all right, 160 pounds dripping wet. I'm in enemy territory. I better, we might win this game, and I better just, tone it down. Fortunately, we lost the game, and I was safe. The winning team is usually the loudest. I'm a huge Chiefs fan, all right? So we watched the Super Bowl, this last one, and you guys are everybody's starting to root against the Chiefs now. I realized this when we went to the Super Bowl party, and I was the only one rooting for the Chiefs, and everybody else was rooting against them. And I was pretty quiet in the first half. I started getting a little bit louder when the second half going, and then my wife is like, "Hey, I like these people, and I still want to be friends and be invited to places in Los Alamos." So I had to quiet cheer as we won the Super Bowl because everybody was not too happy in that. The loudest team is the team that is winning, not necessarily always the home team. Why am I talking about all this? Listen, this is a reminder that Earth is not our home, and a reminder that Jesus is alive and that you have victory. That you can be excited today, and you can be a little bit passionate, even though it doesn't always feel like things might be going our way. This is not our permanent home. And we live in a place that has a lot of darkness and a lot of things to keep us down, but you have plenty to be excited about. Today is going to be a reminder of what team you play for. And when you play for that team, some things that you need to do. A lot of us, we come in here saying, "What's my purpose in life? I wish I knew what my purpose was. What does God want me to do?" Sometimes we make it a lot more difficult than what it needs to be. All right, the Bible tells you very plain and clear. Today, if you know Jesus, your purpose in life is to tell other people about Jesus. You don't have to search very hard. Does God want me to tell someone else about Jesus? Yes, that's your purpose in life. Now, it's going to look a lot of different ways, but we're going to hit on this and remind you what team you play for. So, if you're taking notes, I got a few things I'm going to write down as we go through these verses. First thing is, be passionate. John says, it says the next day, in verse 35 and 36, it says he was there with his 2 disciples. Now, we broke this down yesterday, but here John is writing it again about John the Baptist. We said last Sunday, and he said this in a previous, "Look, the Lamb of God." We broke that down. If I'm not going to do it again, watch next week, or last week's sermon. And in some of your translations, it says, "Behold." He's excited. Look, there's the one. It is okay to be passionate and excited about Jesus. Are you excited about God in a relationship with God? It's going to, again, some of you guys, I realize you're like, "Hey, Mike, I'm excited about him, but it's kind of more quiet here, not so much vocal." Fine. But at the same time, you got to have some sort of passion and excitement. In the 1700s, there was a famous critic of Christianity. His name was David Hume. All right, atheist, and he would kind of battle and debate against Christians. And then one time there was a pastor, famous evangelist, George Whitefield, in the 1700s, and he was preaching. And someone saw that David Hume was walking and on his way to go listen to George Whitefield preach. And they called him out and said, "Surely you, Mr. Hume, don't believe what Whitefield preaches, do you?" To which the quote coming back from David Hume, the critic says, "No, I don't, but he does." People will go miles and miles to watch someone burn. Someone who is passionate is contagious about anything. Things that they love. You don't have to go very far to find out what I love. Things that I like. I'm wearing it right now. Pickleball, right? PB&J, pickleball and Jesus. If you're spending time with me, you're going to hear about pickleball. It won't be long before I'm dragging you out on the court and we're going to be playing some pickleball together. Chiefs, we're going to talk about the Chiefs. You're going to hear about my boys. You're going to hear about my wife. One of my favorite desserts. Oh, I didn't ask. I didn't hear. What some of the favorite desserts? Just go ahead and shout them out. I heard ice cream. Ice cream, yes?
Peach pie.
Peach pie, all right.
Boston cream.
Boston cream, okay, all right. Other desserts, I don't want to leave you out. Caramel apple cider cheesecake. What? Yes, just yes. All right. Well, so one of my, anyone ever gone on a cruise ship? Yes? Okay, some of us. I remember the first time going on Carnival Cruise, and Rita had told me, hey, we got to try this out. It was at dinner, and they serve a dessert, and it's this chocolate melting lava cake that they serve. There it is right there. They serve you this little dish. It looks like a brownie, but on the inside is this glorious liquidy fudge, just like baked to perfection. And it is just like, oh, so delicious. Now, it is so rich and so creamy and so perfect, you need like a glass of milk per bite. But what they do is they'll get you a scoop of ice cream, vanilla ice cream, so you get the two together. And I mean, it is just mouth-watering goodness. Now, the key is, and this is what Rita told me, because you're on a cruise ship and you can have as much as you want or whatever for dinner, you don't just ask for one scoop of ice cream. You ask for two. Yeah. All right, so if you ever go on Carnival, get the chocolate melting cake. Don't just ask for one chocolate ice cream. Ask for two. Now, what if I were to tell you I had some of this to give away to somebody? Would anybody want to try it or taste it if I had one of these baked and ready to go for you? Would anybody? Yes in the room? Okay, I don't have any. All right, I'm not that good. I'm not Carnival. That's dirty. Okay, I'm sorry. Now you know how Dallas Cowboy fans feel, all right? They build up the anticipation, and then it just comes to a crashing halt. All right, people are walking out. Okay, no. Here's why I did this, all right? I just gave you an example of what's called evangelism. I took something that I had experienced. I took something that I loved, and in 3 minutes or less, roughly, I generated some interest in what I might or might not be offering and said, hey, would you like to try this? That was not hard. That's what evangelism is. I didn't yell at you. I didn't hold up a sign that said, eat or go to hell, or have a bullhorn. I just generated some interest based off some things that I love and have personally experienced, and invited you to join on the journey. I don't want to make evangelism any harder than that. All right? Obviously, we're talking about deep spiritual things, but if you have experienced Jesus and He is the love of your life, you ought to be generating some interest. To be passionate about Him is to be okay. It's okay to be passionate and say, I love this guy. Hopefully, when you're around me, you're going to get a little Jesus talk from me. It's not just going to be Chiefs and chocolate ganache and pickleball. There's going to be more substance to our conversation. The second thing is, besides being passionate, all right, if I'm going to share my faith, I better be passionate about it. Second thing is, I need to be on mission, which means I need to be intentional. John the Baptist, not the author, but John the Baptist, he pointed to Jesus. We read this in verse 1, but he said, look, He's the one. Behold, the Lamb of God. And this is now 3 times in this chapter where all John is doing is saying, Him, not me. Him, not me. Him, not me. In verse 6, it says, there was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came to witness, to testify concerning that light, so that all through him might believe. He, John, was not the light. He only came as a witness to the light. If you wanted, what is the purpose of the church? That's it right there. We're not the light. Oh, he is only a witness pointing to the light. There's another part where John's just like, I'm not the one. Don't follow me, follow him. Sometimes in churches we get this mixed up. I pray that this would never happen. That I screw up somehow, and then you're like, I can't believe that pastor, I trusted him, I liked him, he was doing good, and then he fell hard and made a big, huge mistake. Christianity is obviously not true, because did you see what those hypocrites did? Did you see what that hypocrite pastor did? We see this all the time. Hey, I would love to follow Jesus, but it's the church people and the hypocrites that are in the way. Listen. I understand that as a roadblock, and that messes with people's faith. It messes with my faith when I see the pastors who I follow, when they have fallen. And again, I don't wish this on any pastor or me or anything like that. I work hard to not do any of this, but it happens. Don't follow the human. If the person you're following and help build you up in faith falls, they are not the Messiah. It does nothing to prove whether or not Christianity is true or not true. It jacks with our faith, but the one we need to follow is not a person, a human. It is Jesus. He's the one. He's the one. Follow him. And that's what John the Baptist did. Hey, I'm not the Messiah. Follow him. I'm not even worthy to untie his shoes. All right, follow Jesus. John was on mission, and he was always pointing to the light. Now, when he points his disciples, John's disciples, he points them to Jesus, they start to follow Jesus. And then Jesus, here's first words that Jesus speaks, recorded in the Gospel of John. The first words we get out of Jesus are this. He sees these guys and he says, what do you want? What a deep, deep question he asks. What are you seeking? I feel like I ask this question almost on a weekly basis to you guys. What do you want? And we get off the immediate response. Oh, I want money. Oh, I want fame. Oh, I want security. Oh, I want these things. And it's like these immediate fleshly things that we want, but then there's the bigger core issues of like, oh, okay, I know you want a bigger house, but what do you want? Like, what is the drive behind that? And then you get into like the bigger core things of like, man, I just want to belong. I just want to feel valued. I just want to feel like I am enough. Like these bigger things. This afternoon, we're supposed to go watch Inside Out 2 at the movie theater. I know I'm going to like laugh, and then I'm going to be bawling. Why? Because they're going to like point to these deeper core issues of like, you are enough. And I'm going to be like, yes, I am. These core things, what do you want? What a question. They're following Jesus. What do you want? What are you looking for? To which their questions are their replies a little bit odd. It says rabbi, which means teacher. I could break this down too, and I'm not. It says, where are you staying? Kind of like, hey, dude, we know you're busy. If we know where you're at, we'll catch up with you later, right? Where are you staying? Because I'll find you later. And he says, no, come spend the day with me. And so they get to hang out with Jesus for the day. He's like, oh, don't wait till later. Let's go now. Be on mission, because here's what happens next. Third thing, find people. Now Jesus enters to the scene, and all these people are going to start encountering him for the next several chapters for the first time, where they're going to get introduced to Jesus. Andrew meets Jesus, and he says, yes, he's the one. He's the Messiah. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard what John had said and followed Jesus. What are these next 3 words here? The first thing. Not an afterthought. The first thing Andrew did was find his brother. Andrew finds Peter. Here's our point. Found people, find people. If you've been found by Jesus, Jesus found Andrew. Andrew found his brother, Peter. It's a natural byproduct of a relationship, of a relationship with God. It was his first. It was the top priority. I got to go tell my brother. If we're going to share our faith, a great place to start is with the people you have a relationship with. A friend, a family member, a coworker. It is not an accident that you are in the area of those people where you are at, in your workplace, in your neighborhood. It is not some random, it may feel like it's random, but it's not. God has you where you are on purpose for a purpose, and it's not your job. What are you looking for? It's something deeper than that. To be a light, to point to the light. Some people might say, well, isn't that the pastor's job? Isn't he supposed to be the one that's evangelizing and telling people about Jesus? And that is part of my job, but I'm telling you, God put them in your life, not mine. He put them in your life so you could be the one to tell them. Plus, I don't need to rob you of the opportunity. Let's say your friend or your coworker or your family member, they meet Jesus through you somehow, some way, and their whole eternity is changed. And you got to be a part of that experience and see God move and work through you. I don't need to rob you of that blessing. You want the blessings of God in your life? Start telling people about Jesus in your life. It doesn't stop there. Finding people. Philip, the next guy that we find, it says the next day Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, follow me. To which Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael. Found people, find people. Philip found Jesus, and then he went and he found his friend Nathanael. To which Nathanael has that great quote, Nazareth? Can anyone good come from Nazareth? I grew up in a small town, farm town called Montgomery City. And there's plenty of people in the area who'd be like, Montgomery? Montgomery City? Monkey City? Can anything good come from Monkey City? To which we were in Montgomery, and there was Wellsville and New Florence, which were smaller towns than us. And anything good come from New Florence? Or there was Herman. Herman, oh, we hated Herman in the sports world. And they lived on a river, which is actually this beautiful, gorgeous German town now that is like so worth visiting, but we hated Herman. We called them river rats, and we just hated them. Then there was Warrenton. We hated Warrenton because actually they were really good in all the sports, and they beat us, and so we just hated them or were jealous of them. But, I mean, you know how it is, and when you're from an area, Los Alamos doesn't have to think very far to be like, oh, they're from. That was the thinking. Nazareth, I'm thinking royalty. I'm thinking kingdoms. I'm thinking palaces. I'm thinking money. I'm thinking power. If this is the Messiah, Nazareth? Hicktown, Nazareth? No. Now, in Los Alamos, when it comes to this idea of faith and following Jesus, you don't have to think very far to think of some skeptic friends and neighbors who are just a tad skeptical about faith and Jesus, church, and the Bible, or anything. Really? Here is, put that verse back up there, because this is the phrase that I want to invite you to see. Let's go to the next one. Nope. Verse 46. Verse 46. I might have had them out of order, which is totally fine. I'll tell you, because it's just 3 words. For the skeptic in the room, you don't have to debate them to Jesus. You don't have to debate anyone into heaven. In fact, that's a really bad idea. All right, here it is. Come and see. That's it. Invites matter. I tell people, I invite people to freedom, and they're like, I don't know, I don't really do church. You guys are good inviters. You probably encountered the people who are like, I don't know. And then my invite is those 3 words right there. Just come and see. Come and check it out. There's no pressure in coming. Come sit by me is also a great phrase if you're invited. And I'm telling you, invites. If you're like, well, Mike, I'm not sure about evangelism. And I'll get to that in a second. Invites, that's evangelism. Because every Sunday, I'm going to do my best, or whoever's speaking here, to share the gospel and invite people to meet Jesus. And God's been doing that ever since we started here. So you might not be the person out there sharing your faith like, oh, boom, here's Jesus this, Jesus that, or whatever. Fine, fantastic. But you are a great connector and saying, hey, come with me to church. Invite. Jesus does a work in this house too. And so that's that's all Philip says. Come and see. Then Nathanael meets Jesus and he changes his life. Nathanael was, I would explain this later, but he's sitting under a fig tree. And we don't know exactly what he's doing, but scholars would say that he was probably reading the scriptures. Sitting under the fig tree was kind of a symbolic thing that they might be sitting there reading the scriptures. I wonder, hey, this Messiah guy, who is he? Where is he? And then Jesus rolls up on the scene and basically says, hey, you know the one you were studying? The one you were kind of asking? I saw you under the fig tree. You were kind of wondering, when is this Messiah coming? I know what you were thinking. I'm the one. To which Nathanael says, yes, I'm going to follow you. And then Jesus says, oh, you believe just because I told you that? I'm going to show you a whole lot more, man. So just buckle up. Like, get ready to go here. Now, I know I'm talking about sharing my faith, and some of y'all are looking at me like we're glazed over, like, okay, yeah, whatever. I get it. It is not the easiest environment to share our faith with other people. Like, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to share my faith, but I'm not going to do it. I've been here for 20 years, and I have seen and heard these, what I'm going to say, top excuses, but I've also experienced them and spoken them myself. So I'm going to go through a list of top excuses for not sharing my faith. First one is, it's not my gift, Mike. Like, I don't have the gift of evangelism. And I would say, yeah, you're right. It is not your gift. If you actually look at Scripture, it's your calling. It is your calling. You are supposed to be a light to the world and sharing your faith. You are called. What's my purpose in life? You have many of them, not just one. And one of those many is to be a light and share your faith. Another excuse, well, Mike, can I just pray for the person? Like, can I just pray for that person and God will work in their life? And yes, you can pray, but more times than not, I would say God has put you in their life to be an answer to your own prayer. You are the answer to go be that person to them. I'll say this. My sons, Charlie, he's 8. He started to ride a bike now in our street, in our neighborhood. And I used to, as a kid, like ride my bike up and down the street for hours and hours. My parents wouldn't even know where I'm just riding the bike, right? No helmets or nothing like that. All right. So when Charlie gets on his bike and he's riding, we are like, where are you going? Make sure you're only in this neighborhood. Do you got your helmet? Hey, you don't have a helmet? You better have a helmet. And we're like, and then if he's gone for too long, we're out there checking and looking and like safety inspection and all of these things. If you were to see somebody out in the street riding their bike and they're having a good time, but then all of a sudden you see a huge truck that is coming, and you see what is inevitably going to happen here of the bike out in the middle of the road, and then a truck is about to do something, would you, I think I'm going to pray for that person. Oh, I got a good book on bike safety that I will give them some resources. Maybe they can read about it. No, when you see somebody that is headed for a head-on collision, help! Stop! Move! You act! Forget if it's just some random person. If it's somebody that you love. If it's your own son. You are going to, out of love, speak up on their behalf. We know this. As Christians, we know that what we do in this life matters for eternity. And a relationship with God matters now. Once we hit the other side of eternity, there's no going back. It's now. It's now. And so it is a calling. You can pray for them. Please do pray for them. Don't hear me say that to not pray for them. But we need to keep moving on. All right, next thing. Won't people, if I start telling people about Jesus, won't they start watching how I live? Yes, they will. They will watch everything. All right? They're not going to be changed by what you believe and how much theological doctrine you downloaded on a Sunday morning. All right? They're going to watch how you behave. John says it like this. Jesus said it later. He says, by this, all men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. People are going to watch. How do you love one another? In a political election year, people are watching how Christians love one another. Fourth thing, hey, do I actually have to talk about Jesus? All right, you say, pray about it. You're going to watch how I live. Can I just live it out? I'm going to say it's both. It's living and it's talking. It's both. All right, they're not just going to, oh man, they're leaving on a Sunday morning. They're kind of got nice clothes on. They must be going to church. I think I'm going to go too. No, they pray at the dinner table or at the restaurant table. It's going to be living and talking. Romans 10 says it like this: how can they believe in the one whom they have not heard? Consequently, faith comes by hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word of Christ. Sometimes you got to talk and you got to share. What if I don't have all the answers, Mike? All right, if I'm going to talk, I don't know what to say, and I don't have. Guess how much do you think Andrew knew about Jesus before he decided to invite his brother Peter to meet Jesus? Not much. Not much. He just knew, hey, this guy changed my life. You need to meet him too. I think he's the one. You don't need to know very much at all. You just have to have an experience and a passion and a love, and you can start pointing to other people to Jesus. Well, Mike, I've heard this from other churches. We don't really reach people. We're not one of those churches. Here's the problem. You will find that nowhere in the Bible. You will not find a church in the Bible that is living for Jesus and what he's called them to do, and they are silent on this issue. Church, this is a challenging reminder. What are we to be about? Who are we to be about? And this thing is to us be not talking about ourselves, not to have feel-good conversations about ourselves and like, oh man, look at us, and we're this social club, and we give the middle finger to everybody else out there. No, we are, as a church, Freedom Church, we are going to be on mission to go love other people. Now, as we close out here, how do we do that? I try to keep it simple. It's not on my shirt. Some of you guys are wearing the shirt. The Freedom shirt, it says Love Los Alamos. That's our model. How do we do this? How do we evangelize to our world? We love them. That's it, period. This has worked. This isn't the only way to share your faith, but this is how I see it. I want to be very clear on this. You just love people. You love people no matter how jacked up they are, because you know how jacked up you are. You love people no matter who they vote for. Yeah. You love people no matter who they vote for. You matter. Yes, you can do that. And when you love them and you genuinely love them, they are not a project. I can't convert anyone. I can't make anyone believe anything. So I'm not trying to make you believe anything. I'm telling you about what I've experienced, who I love, how it's changed my life, and I love you and I serve you, and here's what God does. He's like, here's a ball. I'm just going to set this ball right on the tee for you here. God will just start dropping conversations in your lap at work, at the water cooler, and you're going to be blown away with, when you just love people, the amount of opportunities you have to be a light and a hope and share about your faith. That's how God does it with me. It may work different for you, but that's our model. Love people, love people, love people. And when God drops the opportunity for you to shine a light on him, you do not shine the light on yourself, because I am not the light. You shine the light on him and you step into that opportunity. From there, that's between them and God. But God's going to give you those opportunities. But you got to be, one, passionate. You can't introduce somebody to someone you haven't met. Some of you might be challenged in this today on point number one, on passionate. You don't love Jesus because you haven't met him. You know all about him. But you haven't fallen in love with him yet because you haven't really got to know him. Jesus wants a relationship. He wants to be with you and have a relationship. Some of you have met him and you've drifted and you walked away, and your Heavenly Father is kindly saying, hey, come back to me, me and you, relationship, let's do this thing. When you fall in love with Jesus, the natural overflow, the natural byproduct is, I got to tell other people about this. I can have a million excuses as to why I don't share my faith. I listed 6. I have a million of them. The question I want to ask you today is, do I really believe that Jesus changes lives? Do you really believe that he changes lives? Because if you do, you will introduce more and more people to him. Let's go ahead and stand. I'm going to close with this verse. Andrew found his brother Simon. And Jesus sees Simon and says, "You are Simon, son of John." I love this because Jesus gives nicknames to people. He says, "You are Cephas," which means Peter. Translated in the Greek means rock. If you know anything about the life and the journey of Peter, Peter was far from perfect. Of all the chosen disciples, he's many people's favorites because this guy was a loudmouth. He would just say it, and then he would screw up, and then Jesus would get on him and you screwed it up, and you screwed it up. And he's the one that when it came to the end and Jesus is getting arrested, Peter's out there saying, "I don't know him." They're like, "No, you were with him. We know you. You're one." He's like, "I don't even know Jesus." 3 times. Jesus' best friend was like, "I don't know him." And he walks away. Jesus knew all of that. And he says, "You're still the one." Peter, a few years, 3 years later, he's going to be preaching the biggest sermon to kick off this thing called the church. 3,000 people are going to get saved. Peter's going to be the one that keeps telling people about Jesus. He gets arrested. They say, "Don't mention the name of Jesus in this workplace anymore." And he says, "Hey, I got to follow God, not man." Peter is the one who's going to die. Martyred, crucified for his testimony on this thing. And he says, he's the one. Always pointing to him. He's the one. I'll give my life for this thing. And that has translated 2,000 years later to you and I right here. We are on the same mission. A same mission. To love Los Alamos. The community that God has given us. The influence around us. Your neighborhood. Your family. Your workplace. One person at a time. That's how you change the world. We're on the same mission. We're on the same mission. So let's go be a light and a hope to the people around us. Let's love Los Alamos. Father, we thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the message today. I hope you felt inspired to take your next step of faith with Jesus. Just a couple next steps that you can take coming out of this. One, leave a review or a comment or share this message. That really does spread the message further and faster when you do that. Secondly, if there's a next step that you need to take coming out of this, head on over to our website, click Get Involved, and let us know exactly how you can take your next step. We would love to partner with you in that. And finally, if you have been impacted in a positive way through our ministries, or your family has been impacted in a positive way through our ministries, go on over to our website and click Give. And if you want to partner with us financially, that would be huge in getting the message of Jesus out through our ministries. Thank you again for stopping by the podcast. Have a wonderful week. God bless.